This is a video of my Z9 workflow. I know there is a ton of ways to process raw files, Z9 files. This is just what I do. Like I said, you can choose whatever method you want, but this is just what I do. I've always used Breeze Browser Pro to sort through my images since I started shooting digital in 2004. So I open Breeze Browser Pro. It's one of the fastest programs for displaying the thumbnails that are embedded in the raw files. These are the JPEGs that are embedded in a raw file. It's not the actual raw file itself. So I just pick one that I want to process. This one right here gives you a nice full-size preview. I just use this program to sort through the images, find the ones I want to keep, delete the ones I want to delete, and I process the raw file in Lightroom. So open up Adobe Lightroom Classic. Go to Import Photos and Videos. Lightroom is much slower when it comes to displaying the thumbnails. All right, this is the one I want. I uncheck all of them. This is the one I want to import. Import. Click on it. Develop. Most of the time I will use Adobe Standard to flatten the colors because I want to adjust the colors myself later. Sharpening, I put it 0. Noise reduction, I also want it 0. I don't want any noise reduction done in Lightroom. I will do that later. The profiles are enabled so that it comes up what I was shooting, Nikon 300mm f2.8. Everything's done. I got everything the way I want it. File. Export. It exports it as a 300 dot per inch 16-bit TIFF. Now that that's been done, I go open Photoshop. Just click open. I have a file. I have a folder on my desktop where I keep all the 16-bit TIFFs. The first thing I do on every image is I run it through NIC-Define. This was shot at ISO 64, so it really shouldn't have any noise in it, but I still run through everything through NIC-Define. Higher ISO files, I've started experimenting with DxO's Pure Raw 2, which seems to do a better job, but I really only shoot high ISO at one race a year, Petite Le Mans Atlanta, because I shoot at night. During the daytime, I'm pretty much at ISO 64 almost all the time. ISO 64 for the Z9 and the D850, and ISO 100 on the D500. I keep my ISO as low as possible at all times to prevent noise. Just click on Define. Even though I have a pretty fast computer, this program does take a while to do this. It analyzes. I just let it do its. I let it do its thing automatically. It does automatic measurement. You can see it appears as analyzing. Once it says automatic profile applied, you don't have to go. You don't have to wait for it to stop saying work. You can just click OK. It comes back to Photoshop. It does its thing. Next thing I do is hit Control Alt 2. And that's like a luminosity layer. I'm not an expert at this in Photoshop. This was something I started doing way back when I started shooting digital in 2004. There was a document called Birds as Art Workflow Guide, and I've done this ever since I started shooting digital. So to Control Alt 2 to select, and then you hit Select Inverse, and it'll pick the part of the image I want to work on. So I go to Levels, hold down the Alt key, and go to the right side and start pulling the slider in until I see the highlights start blowing out. You can see the highlights start blowing out. Just when I barely start to see the highlights blowing out, I'll stop. You could see it right in here where it was starting to blow it out. So I went from 255 to 246. I do the same thing on the left side. Start pulling it in. You can see right in this area a little bit of like it's going to crush it right there. But I pull it in until I start seeing black. If you pull it in too far, you'll turn everything black. It goes too dark. So I pull it in where I just start to see it start turning. I can see the colors changing, and I'm still at 0. So I'm going to leave it at 0. The next thing I do is I use another Nik plugin called Color Effects Pro. So I got the levels where I want them. I go to Color Effects Pro. Just click on Add. I use a preset called Detail Extractor. I don't use the settings that it defaults to. I have it pretty much where I like a lot of my images. I'll mess with the sliders a little bit. Like the details at 11% right now. You can go crazy stupid and do horrible HDR effects with it, which look terrible. I keep it usually fairly low. It all depends on the image. This is pretty much where I normally set it at. Contrast, you can go back and forth. Obviously, that is hardly any color. I usually like to keep it in the low 40s in that area. Saturation, I go up and down with that, depending on the image. Sometimes I'll boost the saturation in Photoshop. A lot of times I'll use this program though, and you could compare the way it came in to the way it looks now. You can just toggle back and forth. Sometimes I will add a filter. Most of the time it'll be like vignetting. You can add a vignette lens. You can control the amount of vignetting. Bad. Once you're done with that, you can hit OK. Comes back in here. I'll flatten the image, and this was something that I learned how to do again way back in 2004. Someone posted on an aviation website on how to get rid of stuff in the sky, dust blobs or anything like that. So on images with sky, what I'll do is take the background layer, come down, add a new layer. And then you come up here and select Image, Adjustments, Equalize. And if any dust blobs are up in here, it'll show. There's nothing in this really image, so I don't have to worry about it. I'll do another image and show you some examples of how to get rid of dust. So everything looks good there, so I can just go back in the history to where it was flattened image. I don't have to worry about it. I use a sharpening action that I started using in 2004. It's an edge sharpener. It's called Smart US Sharpen. It's an action that you plug into Photoshop. I just click that, hit play, and let it do its thing on default. It's an edge mask, so it won't sharpen the sky or things that aren't sharp and focus in the image. I want it to sharpen the car. That's what it's doing, sharpening the car. I just hit OK, OK, OK. I just leave it at settings, and then it says stop. You hit enter again, and then hit play. It does its default sharpening. I take it down to 100% though. 200 is a little bit crispy, sharpens it a little bit too much. Hit OK. Now the image is at 100%. I'll shrink it down for web use. Now it's at 300 dots per inch now, so you could print it and get a very good print. I'll take it down on a Z9 and a D850. Normally it's like 52 dots, or this was on the Z9, but I shot it in crop mode, DX mode. So I'll take it down to, let's see, what 65. I usually take it down to a resolution that gives me about a little over 1400 pixels on the long side, on the width side. So 68, 72. So 78 dots per inch. Does not matter what your resolution is, dots per inch. It's going to look the same no matter what. It's just gives you the size you want. So it's 1400 pixels on the wide side. Okay, that's the size of the image. Now I put my copyright information in there. It's already on text. 24, that's good. That's a little big actually, so I'll go to up here and make it 16 point. To make a copyright symbol, you hold down the Alt key and type 0169. That gives you the copyright symbol. And I'll change it to white so it shows up a little better. And I just come up here and hit any of these tools just to get rid of that layer, flatten image. Change it to 8-bit so I can save it as a JPEG. File, save as. Delete the TIFF file, I don't need it anymore. If I want to reprocess the file, I can go back and reprocess it. I don't need to save those TIFFs. And I save it. IndyCar Road America. JPEG. I always name my files the file number that it was. So 7339. So if anybody wants to print or anything, I can go back and find it easily. And I just give it a title name. This happens to be the driver's name, Joseph Newgarden. All the data is buried in the EXIF in the image. Where it was taken, Road America, IndyCar race, date. So that's already in there. I don't have to type that in there for my file name. I just hit save. I always save level 12 JPEG, the highest quality. The files are a little bigger, but when you post them on social media, Facebook, Instagram, there's compression used on those websites. And if you have a darker image with dark sky, or if it's dark at night, they'll crush the blacks and you'll have all kinds of pixelization, even if you save it at image quality 12. If you save it at lower image quality, those sites just destroy it and make it look terrible. So I save it at the highest image quality. Click OK. And that's it for that image. I'll try to do one with sky in it now to show how to eliminate dust blobs. Pick an image here. Pick that one. 8644. Back to Lightroom. Uncheck them all because I don't want all of them. Scroll down. 8644 is the one I want. Import. Develop. Again, Adobe Standard. No sharpening. No noise reduction. This was shot with the, again, the Z9 with the 24-70 f2.8 Z zoom lens. Export. Now let's close Lightroom. I don't need it anymore. Close Breeze browser. Alright, again, first step, run it through Define. It's hard to see, but these are big files. Obviously, the D850 and the Z9 have pretty much the same sensor, so each file is about 45 megapixels on the full frame. This was shot in FX, so full frame. Again, Define takes a while. Even if you have a high-powered computer, it takes a while to do its thing. Hit Control-Alt-2, and always hit Select Inverse, and go to Levels. Hold down the Alt key, pull the slider in from the right. You can see it's blowing out the orange in the car already. It should look okay in the picture though. It's starting to blow out the sky. So I went from 0 to 230. The orange will still look fine in the car. Hold down the Alt key, do the same thing on the right. It was a cloudy day, it was already dark. You can see it's already, it's 0. It's still, there's areas that are, there's nothing there, it's all black. So I won't pull that in any farther from the left. Now hit Color Effects Pro. See what it looks like when it came in, what it looks like now. It doesn't look bad, so I'll leave it like that. Not going to add any vignetting. Hit OK. Oops. Don't really see any dust spots. We'll check it out. Come up to Layer, Flatten Image. Open a new background copy. Come up and hit Image, Adjustments, Equalize. It's going to look pretty funky looking. I could get rid of anything that's dust in the sky. Click on the background. I'll enlarge the file so I can look at the sky better, or enlarge the image. And just look closely for anything in the sky. If I see any dust blobs. I don't really see any, but if I did, what you do is you come over, use your spot healing brush, make it, you can adjust the size of the circle. Obviously it's real big there. Click over here, it's pretty small. You want to make it just a little bigger than the dust spot you're trying to get rid of. And if I did have a dust spot, what you do is you just come over, find a dust spot. Say there's a dust spot right here. You click on the dust spot. I usually click a couple times, but it won't disappear when you click on it because you've clicked on the background. Once you've got rid of all your dust spots, I don't see any. Thankfully, the Z9 sensor stays pretty clean, and this was the first time I'd ever used the camera. Second time I'd used the camera to race. I don't see any dust spots anywhere in the camera. But you double click on the dust spots to get rid of them. And when you come back, you take the background copy and you drag it to the trash can. Then you're left with your original image. Your dust spots will be gone. I'll try to demonstrate this better in a aviation photograph that does have some dust spots in it. We're back to, the image is good, so we'll go back to 33%. It's flattened. I come back up to the sharpen action again, just hit play. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's sharpening a little bit of the trees and it's sharpening the car. That's what I want it to sharpen. I hit OK. I let it do all defaults. It comes to the stop. Hit the enter button. Hit play. Comes up. Change it to amount to 100%. Enter. And go back here. Image size. I know from past experience on FX mode, the D850 and the Z9 will be 52 dots per inch, 1431 pixels on the long side. Hit enter. Come up here to put my copyright in, text. I know from past experience I wanted it 24 point. Let's come down here, click Alt 0169, gives you the copyright symbol. Once you're done with that, click layer, flatten image, image, mode, 8 bits per channel, file, save as. Just delete the TIFF file, I don't need it. I can go back and get it again if I need to, if I want to reprocess it. IndyCar Road America. File number. I believe this is Pato Award. I will check that later on. One of the McLaren cars. Hit save. I screwed something up there. See 8 bits per channel. File, save as. I think I didn't pick JPEG. IndyCar Road America. JPEG 8644. Again, quality on 12. It's 523 kilobytes. Hit OK. And that is my Z9 workflow. I will try to do another image sometime when I get back from Oshkosh with more sky in the photo, because I'm sure there will be some dust on my Z9 sensor from Oshkosh, and better show how to get rid of dust, little dust blobs. It's really a cool way to do it, especially if you have sky. If you're trying to get rid of dust in an image that has, or the actual, that's not sky, I normally just use the healing brush, and I'll try to show that too. Thankfully, my sensor was really clean at Road America. Like I said, it was only the second time out with the Z9. Just close Photoshop down, and that's it. Pretty simple workflow. It's pretty much the same for all my images. This is Z9 files. The Z9 takes a ton of photos because I have it set, it'll shoot up to 20 frames per second raw. I have it set to 12 frames per second raw, and that's more than enough. It's just crazy how fast the camera can take pictures. It's more than enough, and that's my Z9 workflow. Thanks for watching. Bye.